So Schwarzenegger walks into the office. He looks down at him, and the very first thing he says to him is, "What does such a small man need with such a big desk?" All right, somebody say something funny. We need an intro.
You know, it would be interesting if the intro was us talking about the intro.
We've done that occasionally, but it's never worked very well.
How's that stopped us before?
This is Epic Battle Cry Skirmish 191! Top shit!
Hello and welcome to Epic Battle Cry. This is the place where we cut through the crap to bring you the real deal in the gaming industry today. I'm your host, Tony Grice, and with me, as always, is Daniel Kaiser and Brent Adams. DK, how you doing this week, man?
I'm doing good, TG in 3D. Another week, another EBC, 191 episodes in, and we still haven't figured this thing out, but...
But
I'm happy this week because we got some cool stuff talking about the business aspects of gaming. So I'm sitting actually half naked in a pile of money. I hope that that doesn't disturb anybody. But that's just the reality of where we're at and where I'm at in my personal life.
Try not to get too many paper cuts, asshole.
It's not my money. It's Cliff Bleszinski's money.
At least you're on.
All right, Brent, how you doing this week, man?
What's up? My trolls of torment! My griefers of gouging! How art thou?
I don't know. Should I be a troll? I don't really troll people on the internet.
Well, that's because you're not. That's because you're not playing enough games on iOS, apparently.
That's true. I'll have a talk with Peter Molyneux about it.
Obviously.
But trolls are interesting creatures, aren't they?
They certainly are.
You ever met one?
Brent, didn't you recently tell me about an excellent troll-focused movie?
I would love to take this opportunity to remind all of our listeners out there, if you have not already, to go to Netflix.com, register an account if you don't have one, and look for the film Troll Hunter. I know what you're saying. I know you're saying this could not possibly be a good film because it's got the title Troll Hunter. And normally I would agree with you, but you are totally wrong. It's a 2010 Norwegian film. It's foreign language if you don't fucking speak Norwegian, but it's totally fine. It's subtitles. It is absolutely awesome. Fun, funny, really clever. I absolutely recommend it without reservation. And everybody check out Troll Hunter. Great movie.
I think the best thing in the world that could happen right now is for everyone to do that and find out that the movie doesn't exist, meaning that you absolutely just trolled them.
The irony would be like Cliff Bleszinski cash waist deep. Which ain't saying much, but...
All right. Well, guys, we got plenty of stories to go through this week, so let's go ahead and run through the gauntlet. All right, guys, well, we are here in the gauntlet, and the first bit of news we get is the new title with the pairing from Bethesda and Shinji Mikami, the guy behind Resident Evil, and what they're working on for next year. DK, what's up with The Evil Within?
The Evil Within is the name of the new game scheduled to come out on 360, PS3, PC, and next-gen consoles in 2014. As you mentioned, it's a collaboration between Bethesda, surprisingly enough, who doesn't venture too far into the horror survival market, and Resident Evil.
Why would that change
Mikami.
With this game?
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, we don't know a ton about the game. We got a live-action teaser trailer that was only described as either being very disturbing or very campy, or somewhere in between. I'm not really sure. I find it ironic that the evil is within, therefore it's resident. So that's interesting. The Evil Within is the name of the game, and we know a little bit about it. We know that it's Mikami's attempt to bring back survival horror. It's going to be a truly cinematic experience is what they're aiming to deliver, and what he really wants to do with the project is balance, provide a balance between horror and action. I think a lot of people know that the survival horror genre, which obviously kicked off with games like Resident Evil, has evolved quite a bit, has veered a lot more towards the action scope, but Shinji Mikami is looking to bring it back towards that balance, so we could expect a little bit more horror. From what we've seen of the game, the protagonist, Sebastian, is a detective who basically is sent to investigate a homicide at an inner city asylum, which is what we see in the teaser trailer. And, we've seen some screens and some things that kind of show very Resident Evil, maybe even some Silent Hill-esque type enemies.
Yeah.
But let's get your thoughts on this project. Are you, A, excited about the, Shinji Mikami working on this in Tango Gameworks? And what do you think about Bethesda's involvement? And also, are you ready for survival horror? Do you think this will live up to the hype?
Number one, I am definitely interested to see Shinji Mikami get back into this sandbox. Number two, I'm trying not to judge the game too harshly based on the trailer, which may or may not bear any actual resemblance to the game itself. Number three, I agree with you that, and actually Lauren made this point too. He was saying that like he almost finds the trailer to be like sort of too tropey. Like it's almost like sort of trying too hard to just bring up imagery and things that are, I don't know, that are associated with the horror genre. Whether it's the guy having the safe on his head that maybe calls to mind shit from Silent Hill, or I don't know, like I get kind of like a Hellraiser vibe, from some of this stuff. But anyway, I'm trying not to like judge like this stuff too much. Like I want to see like I want to see some actual gameplay and see like what it actually is kind of going to play like and look like, because this may or may not be representative of the final product. Although I don't, it was a really funny joke. It was a really funny joke, and I'm gonna totally steal it. But as Lauren commented, he's like, I can't wait. I haven't played a full motion video game in years. It's like, great.
Yeah, I don't know. There's nothing so far that makes me in any way kind of excited about this. Like I don't know, just the concept seems played out. Like I kind of worry. Like Resident Evil, no offense, is not necessarily been the poster child for good survival horror games for quite some time. So I don't know. I'm a little.
But he's looking to take it back to his roots. If you're into survival horror.
Well, I do think he's trying to save face with this. The next story we've got this week is the one that we're going to be seeing, the Metal Gear Solid Legacy Collection.
Look out!
And it's going to be available on all platforms that are named PS3. Brent, you want to take us through what we will get in this Legacy Collection?
You're going to get a whole lot of Metal Gear, and by a whole lot, I mean pretty much everything. You are going to get Metal Gear Solid 2 HD Edition, Metal Gear Solid 3 HD Edition, which includes the MSX versions of Metal Gear 1 and Metal Gear 2, which is almost enough for me to buy this set in and of itself. You get Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker HD Edition, you get Metal Gear Solid VR missions, you get Metal Gear Solid 4 Trophy Edition, and you get 2 Ashley Wood digital graphic novels.
I think Metal Gear fans are already going to have a wood.
Who didn't see that coming? So I have to say that this is actually as much as I am disinterested in Metal Gear these days, I have to say that I'm probably going to get this. I will probably pick this up just to have everything on one collection for one system. It'll make playing through them again like really, really easy in the years to come. And I gotta say, I'm probably gonna drop cash on this. And it's coming out June 2013. I can't remember. Did you say that? I can't remember. Anyway, June 2013 in North America and South America.
Obviously a great thing for Metal Gear fans. If you're not a Metal Gear fan or had lost interest in the series like I did years ago, then not much here for you. But I think that's it's cool, especially on the heels of the Metal Gear 5 kind of news. This is the time to do something like this from a PR and marketing perspective. So more power to them. If you're a Metal Gear fan, like you're saying, or someone Brent like yourself who's saying, you know what, it'd be good to have this on one disc so that years, or in one package, so that years from now we could kind of take a little a solid trip down memory lane. You could do so conveniently. We didn't get a price, so I'm interested to know if they're going to gouge people.
I think
$400.
Yeah. But that really will be a big part of it. I mean, like, if they do come out and say it's $150, well, then it takes it from like, yeah, that would be really cool to have, to like, yeah, I'll pass because I've pretty much played, every one of these at some point.
That's right.
I mean, if it comes out at like, if it comes out like $59.99 for the whole thing, then I got to be honest, I'm kind of with Brent on this one. Like, I've got most of these over the years and but just to have one box set that has them all in one place. I'm a little disappointed that nothing in it is new. We've gotten every part of this we've been able to get at some point separately. So I don't know.
No flaming giant whales are going to be in this.
That's probably the best reason to get it.
They're saving them.
You might be. Yeah, you're
flaming whales. Is that the joke you're going for here?
Correct.
Just checking.
Jeez. All right, so next up, we get a little bit of good news for yet another THQ franchise that has kind of been saved from the ashes. Gearbox Software has picked up a pretty popular IP from years back. DK, what are we going to be seeing? Maybe some titles from Gearbox going forward.
It's been 10 years specifically since we've seen Homeworld 2. But in the recent THQ auction that you just mentioned, Gearbox did manage to pick up the rights to the to the Homeworld franchise, which of course Homeworld is the real-time strategy game that was developed by Relic back in the day and released originally in 1999. So, it's kind of interesting because Gearbox isn't necessarily known for strategy games like this. And then what they just recently did with the Aliens thing kind of gives reason for pause in how they're kind of handling IPs. But, I think that Homeworld is one of those games that has a lot of nostalgia attached to it and something that I think fans appreciate and really look forward to, at least cautious optimism about the fact that Gearbox could recognize what made this series tick, update it for the future, and then, for today rather, and deliver something compelling. So much remains to be seen. This could go in so many different ways, but if nothing less, it's nice to see that this franchise has found a home at Gearbox.
Well, thank you for that.
What do you think, Brett?
I never played Homeworld 1 or 2, and strictly speaking, like, I've never really been into like RTSs in a big way. XCOM sort of put strategy on the map for me, but I mean, obviously that's kind of a turn-based game. That's sort of a throwback to, you've
not been into that
older
genre because, Break It All to Hell has never been one of the strategies.
Listen, when someone comes out with that RTS, I'm there. But
the giant break it button.
So anyway, for me, this will totally be dependent on whatever it is they come up with and whether it sort of appeals to my sensibilities at the time. But I don't have any kind of vested nostalgia interest in this or any kind of street cred from the franchise that I'm hoping is going to be maintained through this. Whatever, remake or reboot or, just continuation of the series. So, for me, it'll totally come down to whatever Gearbox comes up with and decides to put out. So, I guess we'll see.
TG?
Yeah. I gotta be honest with you. I always remember loving the way this game looked. Like I remember when it first came out back years and years go. I don't know. I love the color. I love that it was just a very sort of, it's almost, I don't want to say surreal, but like, I don't know, just playing it was kind of a, I don't know, it's just a different type of game, and I actually played it a little bit years ago when the first one came out, but it does kind of make me wonder, like, if they're buying it for, Gearbox is not necessarily known for this type of game. Are they buying it just for the rights to maybe do something different with it? Are they just going to keep? Are they going to maybe take some of the assets and create a new? Just go in a new direction with it, or is it going to keep its the same style of gameplay and whatnot? So I don't know, kind of interesting. Like a lot of the THQ acquisitions that people have made recently, it's sort of weird who has picked up certain things at times, and some make total sense. So I don't know, interesting. I am glad though that it's for people that might want to see games come out from this in the future, that they were able to pick up the rights for it.
And we should just quickly mention Nordic Games ended up with the Darksiders license. I don't know if you guys saw that or not.
Yeah, I did.
That, how do you feel about that?
not as excited as I would have felt.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so one last thing that you'll probably not be that excited about is the fact that Peter Molyneux has added some in-app purchases to, I guess, a game. Brent, Tell us.
Au contraire, mon frère. I think this is the finest story in the episode myself. So, Peter Molyneux's wildly inventive, amazingly popular, and over-the-top awesome game, Curiosity, his first effort from his new studio, 22 Cans, has released an update earlier this week. Now, in order to fully understand and appreciate how terrific this news is, you need to understand a little bit about how Curiosity works. So, Curiosity is a game about a giant cube, and players can basically chip away at tiny little blocks of the cube and slowly work their way towards the middle. Now, in an update this week, Molyneux and company have added the ability to have in-app purchases for the game Curiosity. Now, you're probably asking yourself at this point, what could I possibly want to buy in this game? And the answer is more cubes. That's right. You get to buy cubes to add to the cube that people have been slowly chipping away at for months.
In order to make it harder.
Therefore, making it harder and taking more time to find out what's at the middle of this cube, which I'll go ahead and spoil for you. At the middle of the cube, there's a picture of Peter Molyneux sitting on top of a pile of money, flipping you off. That's what's at the center of the cube.
I'm not sure who's worse off in this situation. The person that sadly is playing this game in the first place and cares what's at the center of the cube.
Well, I just told you.
Or the person that pays money to push those people further back from their goal.
I got to hand it to Daniel. I think in his article on Side Mission, I think you absolutely characterized this the right way when you said that basically Peter Molyneux enabled in-app purchases for trolls. Because that is exactly what this is. This is somewhere, like, there are people out there who don't give a shit about this game who will download it and start buying these things just to grief everyone else on planet Earth. And just in the interest of acting like this is an actual news story, you can spend $1 and add 10,000 cubelets, $7 for 100,000, or $11 for $500,000 cubelets.
Whew.
And you got to hand it to Molyneux, man. I mean, this is brilliant. This is absolutely brilliant.
It's either, well, I do need to clarify this. Kevin wrote this article for Side Mission, not me, so I can't take credit for the article. But it's something that, I think I cannot decide if this is just utter brilliance or if it's complete.
You want me to help you with that, Daniel?
Or it's the biggest example of BS in the world. I mean,
it's a fine line between clever and stupid.
I mean, goodness gracious.
I think I'm going to come up with a new app, and it's called Polishing a Turd. And you can purchase little sandpaper to roughen up the texture of the turd.
That's right. And then,
so, certain people can polish it, and then certain people can buy the capability to rough it up a little bit again. I think that sounds just as good as this game.
You could call that game tough shit.
All right, guys, we're here in the main topic this week, and we're going to talk a little bit about some kind of interesting comments that have come not terribly recently, but fairly recently,
month or so.
from Mr. Cliffy Bleszinski, the Dude Huge, Cliffy B, the guy that basically says some stuff that often frustrates people or angers people, but a lot of times, I got to be honest, I think he has some good points too. Brent, can you kind of take us down the road of what his kind of a recent blog post he put up was talking about?
Absolutely. Well, of course, as people are probably aware, Bleszinski has in fact left Epic Games at this point. He's out, not doing like really anything in the game industry, although I think everybody's kind of got the sense that he'll probably end up doing something at some point down the road. But anyway, he's got a Tumblr now that he's been using to blog, and one of his early posts on there got a lot of attention.
I thought you were going to say make drinks.
Yeah, right. Got a lot of attention at the time, but we haven't talked about it. But it's a really big topic. Lauren and I tackled this very thing on the Axe Factor this week.
The Axe Factor.
Thank you. And but that's the thing. There's still actually quite a bit of this to discuss, and some of the implications for the industry. So we're going to talk about a Tumblr post from Cliffy B called Nickels, Dimes, and Quarters, in which he talks about the nature of the game industry, and he really tries to drive the point home that it is an industry. And he discusses a number of different things, from the attitudes that people have towards the cost of games, the deification of Valve, and the demonization of EA, and how he doesn't really feel like they're all that different. They're both doing microtransactions. They're both trying to try different business strategies to to finance their games. So it's a lengthy read. If you've never checked it out, definitely do that, because I really think that you're going to want to see everything that he has to say going into this conversation, because there are things that he says that I agree with, but some of his conclusions and some of his reasons I differ with him on quite a bit. So anyway, I've already kind of had my piece on this, or at least somewhat, on the X Factor. So I'll really like to kind of turn it over to you guys and hear what you guys got to think about what he wrote in this blog post.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, it's we're late to the party on this one for sure, with the post coming in late February. But this conversation is ongoing, and the industry is still finding its way, and will be for years, well, months, years to come, especially with the new consoles. But I think the thing to understand is that we are in the midst of an evolving business, and that, yes, like Cliffy talked about in the post, this is a business, and we've talked about on this show for years and years and years. That fine line between understanding that it's a business, these companies have to make money, they're working, they're in it for financial gain, and also the art behind it. But, we as consumers, we're very passionate about this medium. I think probably more so than most mediums, gamers feel a sense of association and passion towards the products in which they're involved with. And as pointed out in the article, Cliffy B said, back in my days of riding my bike and doing my newspaper route and stuff, I bought everything Nintendo. I was obsessed with Nintendo cereal, Nintendo magazines, Nintendo figures, this, that, and the other thing. And yet he kind of didn't really the thing that I don't like is when people use the argument of, well, if you don't like it, don't buy it. Like, speak with your wallet, which we do need to speak with our wallets, but that whole, just that instant write-off of like, if you don't like it, don't buy it. But what people need to understand, and something I've said on this show for a long time, is that I think really the answer, we all know companies need to make money. There's different ways of doing it. We're seeing people experiment with, season passes, day one DLC, all sorts of microtransactions. But if you're respectful of your audience, if you understand that there's a core audience and likely a casual audience for your game, and you understand how to reach them independently, and that you're respectful of how you present things like season passes, day one DLC, and know that people are emotionally invested in this content on some level, I think that there's a happy medium, a way to kind of involve the more passionate consumers in, creative decisions possibly, or at least feeling, I mean, if you're really asking them to spend $1 on like some sort of, aesthetic piece of, downloadable content that's just going to do nothing more than augment the look of something, at least have people be involved, I know the games I'm super passionate about, I actually care about some of that stuff, but the bottom line for me is that in this evolving state, transparency and communication between the core customers, the hardcore, and the brands and the people marketing those brands is very, very important. So, yeah, like you said, I agree with a lot of what he said in there in the business sense of things, but kind of the way in which he got there seemed a little harsh.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I got to be honest. I appreciate, I think, kind of the honesty in which I think he looks at these things. Like, I think all too often we get kind of caught up in, I think he makes a very good point that are the things that, say, EA does in their atypical, presentation of some DLC or add-on content or whatever, is it that different from like the way, say, someone like Valve does it? And if you look at the actual, well, I don't think as much as you would feel that way. Like, I mean, the way they have add-on content, they usually always add add-on content. It's just they are better at, like he says, they're better at the way that it's put to their audience, and I really do think that there's something to be said for that. I think there's something to be said for the fact that their PR is much better at what they do than, say, EA's PR. But I don't know that it's necessarily as different as some people would like to believe. I mean, everybody's going to say, yeah, it absolutely is, because they don't do this, they don't do this. But I mean, you can look at examples on both sides of the company where they've done stuff well and done stuff poorly, and I think that they're much more often that they're more similar than they are different. It's just that people love Valve, and they whatever Valve does, they're okay with. People hate EA, and whatever EA does, they're not okay with. I think all too often they're more similar than people would give him credit for. I think that he also, to be honest, I mean, I'm not like a huge fan of any of the titles that he's worked on. I kind of remember back in the day, with Unreal and Unreal, it was Unreal, right? Unreal Tournament, isn't that the series he worked on? And I remember kind of appreciating the fact that he was a really young guy that got into the industry, and I think kind of made a pretty big impact, at a young age. I do sort of think it is interesting that, as time has gone on, I feel like he's probably become slightly more separated from the actual gaming part of things than the actual, in production wise,
right,
than the face that he wants to put on it. And he, he's kind of honest about that at the end of the article too. He's like, hey, look, I got into it for a lot of different reasons, and one of those reasons was making money. I think we've spent the better part of 4 years now talking about the business side of gaming. I think that's what our podcast comes down to.
And we haven't seen a dime.
So we're doing it wrong is the thing that I'm trying to say.
Exactly.
But I think there is something to be said for what he talks about, that people should speak with their wallets. We say that all the time. Like, we talk about that a lot. And I don't necessarily know that people really realize that they're all the time just kind of saying, like, it's okay because I'm just going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to speak with my wallet, and then the first time they have a chance to really do that, they don't necessarily do that.
And that's that passion factor. They want something so bad, or they want to believe in it, or they love that brand. And I think gamers feel like they're taken advantage of with some of this stuff. But, again, if it's done right, and if people understand, I mean, as Cliff pointed out too, though, the vast majority of where all these funds are coming from probably isn't us hardcore gamers. It's from the mass market consumer that just buys XYZ and they're like, oh yeah, okay, fine, I need to pay an extra $10, I get this, that, and the other thing. But really the people that talk about it all the time, the people who follow this stuff like we do, we're really passionate about it. We could kind of read between the lines about what a company is saying to a consumer in the way in which they communicate their stuff. And I think that's where Valve has learned over time to excel, whereas EA kind of has this, giant mega corporation vibe that they kind of take franchises in or take IPs and stuff and kind of are known for, making them mass market. So they're doing well financially, I guess, EA, or I don't know how well they're doing in recent years. But
do you not think, though, that it could have? Do you not think it has something to do with the fact that, there are different businesses are going to have to offer different things differently? I don't. No, I guess the way I look at it, just real quick,
how they choose to do it.
Let me just get this idea. Like the thing I see is that someone like EA can't just like you look at, say, something like he mentions Origin. It is difficult, I think, for EA to just say, all right, we're going to start doing stuff like how Valve does it. Well, you can't just do things the way Valve does it, because why would anybody go to someone else other than Valve for that? Yeah. So they have to try to do it somehow differently, or offer something that only they could offer. The same way that, I don't think that Valve could do some of the things EA is capable of doing. They may not have or care to do the things they do in terms of, like, getting the rights to the NFL football franchise and putting out a series that's that popular. They may have no desire to do that. So it's sort of like maybe a necessary evil to a small degree that everyone has to do something a different way.
Yeah, but I don't think that EA's got to do online passes. I don't think that.
Why do you not think that they need a revenue source down the road? I mean, why do you not think that they see that as a way of obtaining that?
I think that EA, whether we're talking about microtransactions, whether we're talking about, schlocky DLC, online passes, this is what I said on the X Factor. And the final analysis for me, when Valve does something, more often than not all the time, but more often than not,
sure,
I feel like Valve is offering me a product that's got value, that is something that I don't mind spending my money for. I feel like EA is just scheming and trying to figure out how to charge me more than $60 for a game that's got $60 on the label.
Well, like what was that example he used with Team Fortress, which I think is kind of an interesting one. Like Team Fortress, one of Valve's kind of top tier titles, however you want to say it. They have all those digital downloads that they do share. I think, if somebody makes one, they share the profits with whoever makes it, I think, on certain cases. But they've got like that engagement ring that's $100.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, granted, that's almost more of a joke or a gag thing, but they do tons of stuff like that. And they do make some pretty significant profits off of this stuff, because, I mean, it is just a small little digital download thing. I think sometimes that we just don't hold them to the same standards.
It's also a free-to-play game.
Well,
EA makes a bunch of free-to-play games. If you look at some of their like online offerings, at least, I mean, they do some of those same things, just in different styles of games.
And if people think that what EA is offering is a compelling experience, if it's value for their dollar or non-dollar, as the case may be, then they'll go for it. But I would argue that people supporting Valve over EA is people speaking with their wallets.
Well, so which of those two companies is more profitable right now?
I'm sure that EA is more profitable, which actually comes to another really interesting point. Bleszinski in this article, and I'm repeating myself a little here, but Bleszinski in this article says that the people complaining about this are a vocal minority, which to me raises the question: why does it need to be addressed then? If it's already successful, if it's already working
vocal
for EA and to Valve's detriment, then why address it? If the people complaining about it aren't affecting the bottom line, then why does it warrant his attention?
Well, I think
because it's a blog post. I mean, because it's not that important, I don't think.
And again, it is important because, as he expressed in the article, like he says his first thing was, being a game creator because he loves the medium of interactive entertainment more than any other medium. And I think at the core of all this is our individual passion levels for this thing. Intermixing business and pleasure is very difficult to do. And I don't really pay that much attention when I go buy certain things, or if I go get my car tuned up and they're like, well, you need this extra oil and it's like, $5 more than the other one. I'm like, is it better? Okay, great, fine. I don't know that much about it. So they in that realm, but you tell me I'm going to pay $5 extra for something with one of my video games. I'm like, well, okay, why? And I start questioning it or thinking about it or how it could be done differently. And again, it's because even if we are the vocal minority, it's because I think people are passionate about it and they want everyone to feel or to understand why. And ultimately, I think some people are doing this thing right, other people are not. But for me, it comes down to being a little more transparent and reaching out to your community more. That kind of solves it, because the bottom line is, if you're a hardcore fan of a franchise and the brand is reaching out to you and saying, hey, look, we're looking to keep this franchise going and we need to release some new content to do that. Which of these characters are you more interested in hearing a side story about? And we'll create content for that. Then they feel justified. And then the people who actually are probably spending the most money on it, they didn't give a shit in the first place. So they're just getting new content. So I think if there's some little extra TLC put into this process, that we could see a lot less, grumbling about what's going on, which is what we've been doing for a long time.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all, because I think that the reason that Valve has the quasi bulletproof reputation that they have, deserved or not, but the reason I think that they have that is because from a very early time, Valve has engaged their fan base, and that they have built a sense of community around their brand and around the games that they've put out over the years.
Exactly.
And I think that they've been able to maintain that even as they become bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think that thing, just keeping engaged with the people who are consuming their products has given them, number one, it's given them some trust. People are willing to, give Valve the benefit of the doubt in cases where they probably would not give EA the benefit of the doubt, because they feel like, well, Valve's earned that from me based on what they've done in the past. But also, I think that keeping close to their fans has steered Valve away from doing certain things that some of the other companies have done that would risk that level of trust that they've cultivated.
Mm-hmm.
I think we ultimates, because I agree with what you're saying. I do think, though, that there's a difference in we act as if I think both of these audiences for these two companies are the same, and I don't really think that they are.
Well, that's a fair point. I think that's a fair point.
My whole kind of idea is that I think EA does listen to their customer base. At least the fact that their customer base, I think, is a much more mainstreamed and probably in general much larger. And so what it comes down to is like someone from the Valve sort of side of things that's used to the way Valve does things goes over to an EA property and they're like, wait a minute, you don't listen to anything I say, you don't look at it this way. And they're like, hey, look, our audience, we know that they want this and this and this, and so that's what we tend to gear things towards. Sure, we might do these things which you don't necessarily care for, but they don't mind, and it allows us to do this. You know, it's like, I'll be honest with you, I think the average Madden player out there, let's just to throw out an EA title, is less concerned with things like online passes and stuff because, you know, they're either the mainstream person that doesn't think too much or doesn't care, maybe not to say think, like it's like they're less involved in it, they're just, that is not what they're concerned with.
Emotionally invested in it.
I would dare say that there's a bunch of people that play Madden that are seriously emotionally invested in the game.
He's not talking about the game. He's talking about like emotionally invested in, you know, whether there's an online pass for the used copy.
Exactly.
Right.
They're either like, hey, I'm just going to buy it new, and they buy it new and never deal with that, or they're the person that always buys it used, and hey, you know, now I got to buy this extra $10 thing. Fine, okay, whatever. You know, they're just a different audience. The same way that I think, you know, the types of games they make are different. I think the mentality behind the way they're made is different, and so I think it is a bit short-sighted to sort of say that Valve listens to its customers and EA doesn't. I think that the two customer bases are so drastically different that they work differently. They just, you know, I don't think that one and the other could just be interchangeable. I think that they inherently are different, and so there's something to be said for that.
I agree. I think that there's a big difference between EA and Valve, and as you pointed out, there's probably a big difference between their fan base as well.
Yeah,
it's an ever-evolving, you know, state of business that we're in. I'm really interested, actually, to see what happens in the next generation of consoles, especially with the used game market and how aggressive Sony and Microsoft are with digital downloads or securing, you know, their ability to you know, keep people from trading in games, because that significantly undercuts and undermines development of new stuff. But I don't know. Any way you slice it, when you're talking change, dollars don't always make sense.
All right, guys. Well, we are coming up near the end of this week's Skirmish, but first we have our battle cries of the week, and my battle cry is going to go out to for those of you that don't keep up maybe with the portable side of gaming. Nintendo has released yet another of their direct videos. I swear these feel like these are coming monthly now. I don't remember them being monthly before, but I guess they are. But anyway, they showed some, you know, footage, a little more footage of some of the games that we heard about a month or two ago. The new World Tour for the 3DS, some new footage of the Super Mario RPG coming out for the 3DS. But one of the things that was the most exciting for me, because I'm a huge 3DS fan, especially right now. There's so many awesome games coming out. But is that there is not a remake, but an actual sequel coming for the Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. And it's in the same world. There's actually kind of an interesting. A couple websites have kind of looked at some of the footage they've shown and kind of matched it up. And it's in 3D. It looks different. You know, the game is given just a slightly different tweak to the look, but you can obviously tell it's in the same world that the original Link to the Past was done in. And I don't know about you guys, but A Link to the Past, probably one of my my favorite games of all time.
I totally agree.
Just a great game. I mean, I know, you know, I know I'm the retro guy, and I know I kind of look at the old games, but there's something about just like this.
Magical.
It is. I mean, it's just different. It's just different to be in a game, one that has like fucking colors, you know, a game that like is not just dreary and dark.
Colors.
Yes, and especially I don't know what it is about Nintendo's games, but there is just sort of a nostalgia factor. Granted, a lot of people, and they're rightfully so, feel like they kind of, you know, rest on their laurels, I guess, too much. But hey, the fact that this isn't just a remake is more what excites me more than anything. It's not just a 3D remake of an older title, but it's actually going to be a sequel. I'm really looking forward to some of the new boss battles. Some of the footage they show, it looks fun. So anyway, not sure that anyone out there, I'm sure there'll be a few people picking that one up with me, but anyway.
Yeah, no, it seems pretty awesome.
The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, number 7 on my list of best all-time games ever over on uniquegamer.com.
Ah, yes. Oh, man, I haven't updated that in forever. I need to go back and make sure I still agree.
I got to as well. I got a few things I want to put in there.
Yeah. All right. So, well, Brent, what is your battle cry this week?
My battle cry this week goes out to the Omni, which is an omnidirectional treadmill that is designed to work in conjunction with VR technology such as the Oculus Rift, and it comes from the company Virtuix, and there is some very interesting video of the Omni being used in conjunction with a Kinect camera. Although I think that they're going to probably be using something different when this actually comes out. But in conjunction with the Kinect camera and Oculus Rift, there is somebody using the Omni to play Team Fortress 2. And I got to tell you, it is the most strenuous looking thing I have ever seen in my life. They talk about, gamers being couch potatoes and living a not so healthy lifestyle. That will change if and when VR technology really hits, because my God, this guy is working for it.
This is how I know virtual technology will not catch on. It's because people will have to get up and do shit.
Nobody's going to work this hard to play a game. I've seen this done I've seen another prototype of this used in Skyrim. And, as Lauren pointed out when we talked about this, there's a lot of walking in Skyrim. A lot of walking in Skyrim. And he's like, I'm not sure if I want to, actually walk one-to-one, for every step I'm going to take in Skyrim. I'm like, that's a fair point. So anyway, watching this...
You'd certainly get some exercise.
Yeah, you damn well bet your ass you would get exercise. And as a matter of fact, that leads me to another point, which is the Omni is designed... to be an affordable solution. Affordable in the sense that it's probably going to be like $400 to $600. So less than the cost of a PlayStation 3. But at launch, people, come on. So they really are trying to make something that is accessible to to gamers, and I totally respect that. The one thing that did sort of occur to me is the fact that the irony. There's a great irony in this situation in that this is something that gamers could use to get a lot of exercise, but you're already going to have to get exercise to squeeze in this thing, because I'm a big guy, and I'm telling you, there is zero chance that I fit in that little donut that's supposed to go around your waist, all right? Not happening whatsoever. So I am going to, and I've been losing weight, as people might remember from the X Factor. I've been exercising, I've been eating right, I've been dropping pounds, but I got a long way to go before I slim down to this guy's size and I'm able to squeeze into this thing. So, that's my goal, basically. Like I have my new goal out in front of me is lose weight so that I can exercise and lose weight in the Omni, which actually when I say out loud makes no sense. But anyway, it's an interesting video nonetheless. And if you're into VR and the Oculus like I am, it's just kind of cool to check out.
We've had people at GT recently try out the Oculus Rift, and I think a couple of them got pretty damn sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched a pretty in-depth YouTube video with one of the guys that got one of the first units, and they went into really in-depth on how you set it up and everything, and it definitely looks very cool, but I don't know, man. It's still, I feel like I don't feel like it's the thing that's going to get us there. It's just a early stepping stone.
I disagree, but we'll see.
Okay. Well, very cool. All right, DK, what is your battle cry this week?
My battle cry goes out to what I've been playing recently, which is Dishonored: The Knife of Dunwall. Not playing with, but I've been playing. Dishonored: The Knife of Dunwall DLC. Okay, so people, if you follow this show, you know that I really like Dishonored. And then this DLC came out where, you get to play as Dowd, and I won't put any spoilers in there, but I really am digging this DLC. I want people to check it out. If you haven't already checked out Dishonored, I know you guys weren't terribly interested in Dishonored. Lauren pretty much wrote it off, I think, without playing very much of it. But that's understandable. We're all different. But here you go. Dishonored: The Knife of Dunwall DLC is out. It's $10. It's definitely been high up on my list. I got a chance to get it, and I've been playing it, and I'm really enjoying it. So, like we were talking about in the topic before, to me, this is the way you kind of do DLC right, because like I said, I loved Dishonored last year. It was one of my favorite games of the year, and I've kept that disc around. I've kept it next to my Xbox 360 because I've been anticipating new content for it. And when this came out, I was like, great, and I get to go back and rediscover, not too long after beating the game last year, how much I really enjoyed what Arcane Studios and the whole team from Bethesda has put together with this project. So props to all of them on Dishonored: The Knife of Dunwall, which is a really cool bit of DLC. I hope everybody checks it out, and there you go. That's my battle cry.
All right. Well, cool.
Okay.
Give it a stab.
Oh, right.
Jeez. That one snuck up on us. All right, so Brent,
what?
you got our member battle cry this week?
I sure do, and it comes from Rye Marinara. Or Ree Marinara. I don't know.
Ree or...
Could go either way.
I don't know. It makes me hungry either way.
Right. So the point is that this is what he's got to say. Fighting games haven't really
You're assuming
evolved.
it's a guy.
Because, well, I mean, I don't know. All right. This is what they got to say. It's a fair point. I don't fucking know. Fighting games haven't really evolved because the genre is ultimately about its core fundamentals. When you break it down to its core, the most important thing in a fighting game isn't the stages or special moves, but the distance between the two characters on screen and what move beats what. This creates the mind games, tension, and strategy involved in a great fighting game. Everything else, like destructible stages or long combos, are icing on top. Think about it. Marvel vs. Capcom 3 has 99 plus hit combos, but what's the point if you can't hit your opponent? So as long as the fundamentals of a fighting game are great and all the addictive gameplay aspects work along with those fundamentals, then it's a good fighting game. Maybe that's why the genre hasn't really changed. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think that the reason that fighting games are still kind of what we perceive fighting games to be is because they got it right early on.
Yeah. And I think part of our conversation last week, I mean, it's kind of what I was, mentioning, like, if you get those core fundamentals, what makes a great fighting game it doesn't seem like that's going to change anytime soon. So we were talking about this, obviously, this is a battle cry in correlation to our topic last week about, the next evolution of fighting games. And, I think it was a good conversation that, we explored some of the possibilities, but at the end of the day, to coin a phrase that we haven't used in a long time
right.
on UBC, I think that, just getting those core fundamentals and having compelling characters and a compelling, setting and stuff is what's going to ultimately win out.
Yeah, and I'm sure the proof will be in the pudding, too.
Yeah! Pulling them all out. That's what she said.
That's what you said, but okay.
All right, guys. Well, that is going to end it for this week's Skirmish. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us this week, and please join us once again next week when we will be mercilessly cleaving the fat from the gaming stories of the day. For Brent and for Daniel, I'm your host, Tony Grice, and remember, cry havoc, and I'm pretty sure his argument was not that characters matter, but more it's like the gameplay and just the fighting, right?
Characters, yeah, absolutely. The core gameplay. But I say if you have good core gameplay, then the other stuff is.
I thought you said characters.
I think characters help, though. I mean, I think good gameplay is good.
An amount of character,
help.
but like not story. Like nobody fights one character to see what happens in their storyline afterwards. They fight that character to play the next one.
Well, the
I
last
did.
Mortal Kombat kind of.
So fuck you.
Nah, not really. It was terrible.
No,
Still
what are you talking about? It was awesome.
Still a stupid story.
Hey, look, anytime, I don't care what the genre, a good story is worth fighting for.
You see what you did? Do you see what
I
you
know.
did?
You're right.
Finish him.
Please finish him. Please, somebody disembowel Daniel.
Hey, you're doing more puns now, man. I'm picking up on the pun train.
No.
It's good.
Tony.
I like it.
Well,
At two, Tony. At two.
Trying to save face. Are you kidding me?
that was pretty good, though. You got to admit. Right?
That was
I agree.
great.
That was really funny, actually.